In this class, we are going to look at Versa Compliance Calibrator, how it is set up, and how what are the different options for scheduling the job in the batch. Okay, scheduling the job in the batch so that the report will run every day, and then you can check for SODs for a change or a new user or a change or new role. Okay, so so we're going to go to the system and then log on to Versa Compliance Calibrator. Okay, so this transaction is /n/Versa/z VRAT /n/Versa/z VRAT. Okay, so we come to this screen, we execute. So this is the main screen for the Versa Compliance Calibrator. It's the main screen for. So we can do the analysis on two types. One is the user based and one is the role based. Okay, one is the user based and one is the role based. So let's look at a role and run the analysis. So one more setting here is you can run the analysis on the SOD at transaction code level, or you can run the SOD at authorization object code level. So when you run the SOD at the transaction code level, it's going to only check for conflicting transaction. It's not going to check for whether the person has display access within the object or not. Just going to purely check at the high level transaction and then going to flag whether the role or user has a risk. Okay, when you run at a SOD at authorization object level, you are also checking for transaction plus also the object values. So only if you have a match for the object and then also object values, then it will trigger a risk. Critical transaction is basically transaction which can create a risk by itself. For example, create a bank, right? It can create a risk by itself. Or sometimes, mass payment of vendors or mass creation of vendors or deletion of vendors is a risk by itself. So this kind of individual transactions risk is basically defined by the company based on the business process. Critical role is something which can be also defined. For example, creating a client or deleting the files on the operating system. Some of the basic transactions will fall into critical roles. Right? So if some company wants to know what are the critical roles, they can also do. So here there are also, we are trying to analyze what kind of report we want. We want dialogue report. We want to have only analyze dialogue users because they are the users who are logging into the system and then performing tasks. Okay. And also we want to exclude locked users and expired users and expired roles. Okay. So let's run this. I'm going to first run it as a transaction code level, right? I'm going to run at a detailed report. You can also do what are other options you have. Okay. Let's execute. When you execute, it's going to come up with the risk. So it's going to come up with the risk ID, role description, role name, role description, risk ID. The first four characters P001 is the risk ID, and then the extension is permutation combination, various risks. So the risk is create fictitious vendor and initiate payment to the vendor. Okay, the risk is create fictitious vendor and initiate payment to the vendor. So here the checking is only at the transaction code level. So let's look at the same report at the authorization object level. Okay, go back. You can do the same thing for user also. So let's click on this authorization object level. Execute now. So now you see the same results at the authorization object level. So here in this case, what happens is you need to have transaction these two FK01 F-63, but also you need to have these following three objects with following values, right? So this is predefined by SAP. What is the risk and what are the different combinations? So we are just checking against the rule, and then this is saying in addition to these two transactions, it also needs to have these three value sets for it to trigger a risk. Okay. Now, so let's say, for example, we want to schedule this running this on all users every day in the night, so that an auditor can get a report saying that what changes have made or what risks have been introduced into the system. Okay, what risks have been introduced into the system. Okay, so for that, what we need to do is we need to go to this heading here, compliance calculator. We need to run, it says run in background. Okay, this is running like running a batch job. Okay, run in background. Then you give a job name. Okay, you say what time you want to start. If you want a mail ID, you can also put a mail ID, so that somebody like auditor can get this report every day. One of the clients, most of the clients I used to go, they usually run this every day, and then auditor reviews it, so to make sure there is not new risks introduced in the system. Okay, so you can run daily. You can say process only change users. So first time when you run, you just run one time full scan. And then what you do is you process changes for users and roles who are changed. Okay. Okay. So this is something about this is what that about is something about the tool, and there are so in the next video we will look at how the rule set is set up and how do we put a mitigating control.